who will be lending us significance on this matter. Barrister Ugwuonye, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Tim. Even though I couldn't hear you very clearly, but you came across faint. I think I got the question. First and foremost, I want to define the context in which I speak on this subject. For 10 years, I was the lawyer representing Nigerian government in the United States courts. And within that period, I handled several cases, high profile and low profile cases involving Nigeria as a party. So I have a very good idea and experience on how Nigerian government behaves when they have a lawsuit of the nature we see. Of course, Nigerians had the news of the seizure of the airplanes just recently. But when you look at the chain of what happens, it takes you back as far back as 2001. So it's long ago that chain of events began to build up. But a turning point in the chain of events occurred in 2016. That was 8 years ago, when the Ogun State government terminated a contract, a joint venture agreement involving this Chinese company. And in 2017, 7 years ago, the Chinese company initiated an arbitration in France. Nobody heard anything about these cases then, but that is when the problem arose. What we heard now is the seizure of the airplane. 3 airplanes seized, even though one of them was said to have been released, against a judgment of $100 million against Nigerian government.
Mr. Emeka, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Suddenly, you are not very loud as before. I don't know what went wrong.
I don't know. That is a problem I'm encountering when you speak as well. I thought it would be different from here. It's not from the speaker of my phone. I've turned it.
We are hearing you clearly.
Excuse me?
We can hear you clearly.
Okay, very good. So I can continue, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay,
so, all right. So the,
you said you didn't hear my question clearly, so let me try and speak a little bit louder.
Okay. Beautiful, please.
Okay, so I was saying that a private jet belonging to the Nigerian presidential fleet was seized in France and Switzerland following a court order, and the seizure was initiated by Zhongshan, a Chinese company that has been in a legal battle with the Ogun State government. Now, it is intriguing how a debt supposedly incurred by Ogun State government will suddenly transmute to being Nigerian government, the presidency of Nigeria being indebted to this company. How did this come about? What happened? So, did you get my question clearly now?
Yes, I did. I did.
Okay. Please go ahead
as I was explaining, there is a history spanning back to 2001, which led to what Nigerians just heard. Because Nigerians just heard of the seizure, not of one plane, actually 3 planes in the Nigerian presidential fleet belonging to Nigerian government. And the reason for the seizure was to enforce an arbitration award against Nigeria, which stands in the amount of 100 million at the moment. Nigerians are shocked and they wonder how this came about. I'm going to try to explain, based on my experience as a lawyer who represented Nigerian government in the United States for a period of 10 years. I know from that experience how Nigerian government behaves when there's a lawsuit against it. But one thing I can say for sure is that what happened with the seizure of the 3 airplanes is procedurally impossible. It is difficult ordinarily for this sort of thing to happen because it didn't just occur suddenly. For you to get an arbitral award against Nigerian government, somebody must have filed a lawsuit. And that lawsuit would have implicated Nigerian government either as a party to the lawsuit, yes, necessarily as a party to the lawsuit. So you can ask yourself a number of questions to determine where things went wrong. And to do so, you have to look at what Nigerian government is saying now. For instance, Nigerian government went on appeal to United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom said that Nigerian government filed out of time. In other words, Nigerian government tried to invoke immunity defenses to say, hey, I'm a sovereign, I'm immune from liability in the circumstance. I'm immune from any process to seize the property of the state. They lost in United Kingdom. They want an appeal, they also lost and said they failed in appeal. So they came after the time for appeal had expired. Why did I focus on this? Because I want to show you that if Nigerian government lawyers had done what the basic things they're supposed to do, Nigeria would not be where it is today. Why would Nigerian government file an appeal after the period of appeal had expired? Every lawyer would know when appeal is due. Is it that they did not know about the original judgment they were appealing against? But how could they not know if they were served the process? Because they must have received the process, notice of the proceeding in court in good time, enough time for them to defend. But even if they refuse to defend, at least enough time to know how to file an appeal, when to file an appeal. So looking at all these things, my conclusion is that what happened would ordinarily not be possible unless there is corruption. Not at the point of the contract, because the formation of the contract, the implementation of the contract, the termination of the contract, the expelling of the Chinese were all wrongful things they did. State government of Ogun State did. Why they did it, we don't know. We don't know the underlying corruption or whatever motive that caused them to land themselves in that mess. Let's stop there. Let's say Ogun State messed up. Ogun State breached this contract. Let us assume that happened, even though we are not exactly sure. But let us assume that one of the states in Nigeria breached its contract with a foreign partner. How does that translate to the properties of the federal government of Nigeria being seized? How did we move from the point of breaching a contract by Ogun State to the point of seizure of the plane of Nigerian government? In other words, how did Nigerian government become liable for the debt incurred by a state? How? That should be bothersome. Okay, there are a number of ways that could happen. We have wondered whether Nigerian government guaranteed the contract between Ogun State and the Chinese company. Maybe they made the mistake or the decision to guarantee that contract. In other words, maybe the Chinese partners said, hey, to Ogun State, we're not going to go into this contract with you unless we have a guarantee by Nigerian government. Maybe Nigerian government did it. If Nigerian government guaranteed that contract, that means that the contract would have gone through the office of the Attorney General of the Federation. He would have vetted it. He would have assessed the obligations of Nigerian government under that contract. He must have said it was okay. He must have signed off to commit Nigerian government to it. Let us also assume that Nigerian government happened to make itself a party to a contract between a state and a foreign entity. Let us assume that. Now, we have to move from that point and ask, how did the Nigerian government end up being sued in the arbitration proceedings? Normally, Nigerian government, if a party to the arbitration proceedings, would have received notice of the claim of the Chinese. trying to make the Nigerian government liable for the breach. So again, that notice will come to the office of the Attorney General of Nigeria. And the Attorney General of Nigeria will appoint lawyers to defend Nigerian government. And those lawyers will make all the arguments necessary. So, but let us assume that those lawyers did that. And eventually, an award was made against Nigerian government. That means that the arbitration overruled or rejected all the defenses presented by Nigerian government lawyers at the arbitration proceeding. Let us assume that happened. And they got a judgment or the award. How come those lawyers did not file within time in the United Kingdom? The appeal in the United Kingdom, according to the record we got, was rejected because they filed the appeal out of time. How would a lawyer representing Nigerian government, a sovereign nation with resources, end up filing his appeal out of time? That is strange, very strange. I don't want to mention what happened in the United States, because what happened in the United States was merely an enforcement proceeding. And the US government will enforce an arbitral award unless you can show in exceptional circumstances some underlying corruption to justify US rejecting it. So let us forget what happened in the US because it was a fait accompli. They will enforce the judgment that came from France. So when I looked at all these things, I knew that it wouldn't have happened if the lawyers, Nigerian government lawyers, did their work well. And I asked myself, why would these lawyers not do their work well? My mind went back to my own experience representing Nigerian government in the United States. One thing I had noticed is that lawyers appointed by Nigerian government, often particularly Nigerian government lawyers, deliberately compromise these judge cases. They compromise these cases in cahoots with the party claiming against Nigerian government, so that a judgment will be obtained against Nigerian government, and those lawyers and some officials in the Nigerian government will share with them. One thing you have to understand is that almost every Nigerian government official is trading against Nigeria. When I was their lawyer, one of the things that shocked me, and I felt very, very sad about it, was that Nigeria was often undefended in these suits. In these foreign suits, they are mostly orchestrated in connivance with Nigerian government officials who encourage foreigners to sue Nigeria, get a judgment, and can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So Nigerian officials, I'm saying this for all Nigerians to hear this. Nigerian officials connive with foreigners and tell them to sue Nigerian government. And they do everything to undermine Nigerian government ability to defend itself. Indeed, they compromise the trial process, rig it against their own government. The understanding is that a judgment will be issued against Nigerian government, and Nigerian government will pay money to these foreign partners, and they will share it with those representing Nigeria. Almost every Nigerian official I have seen traded against Nigeria. Nigeria went to court undefended. When I was their lawyer, I faced pressure from Nigerian government officials for me to lose the case. Nigerian government officials will hire me, and immediately they hire me, they begin to do everything to make sure we will lose the case. I noticed that they will go behind working with people that sued Nigeria. I will give you an example. In one of the cases we handled, the Nigerian Airways case, Nigerian government did not hire lawyers until the class action plaintiffs got a default judgment. After they got a default judgment of $50 million against Nigerian government, that was when the Nigerian government came to hire me. They came to hire me. I wondered, you got notice of the trial, you were informed, Then you waited until there was a default judgment before you came to hire a lawyer. Very well. I had an option. It was clear what I was going to do, which was to file a motion to vacate the judgment of default. I explained to the Nigerian officials that they had 30 days, minus those it took them to come to me. They had 30 days to file a motion to vacate, and that there were good chances that the motion to vacate would be granted. They said, okay, go ahead. I said, all right, but you have to pay us. Our fee must be paid before I will file. They promised to pay when they got back to Nigeria. Do you know that Nigerian government officials deliberately failed to pay me? They did everything to cause me not to file a motion to vacate. I waited. Thank God we could file in the United States by PESA system, which is filed online electronically. I waited for my fee to be paid until few minutes to the deadline. The deadline will be 12 midnight. I waited. It was after 11:30 p.m. that I finally pushed the send button, and my motion was filed. The next day, when my motion was filed, the Nigerian officials began to call me. What happened? Did you file? I said, you filed. Yes, I said, I filed. They said, oh, but we haven't paid you. They didn't want me to file. That was not just one case. So I noticed a pattern on the part of the Nigerian government to cause the lawyer they hired to lose the case because they were working with the people who filed this lawsuit. When people file a lawsuit, you got to understand, let me give you an example. It's a typical situation where an official tells you, listen, I cannot do this, but if you get a court order, I will do it. Go and get an order to compel me to do it. So invariably, these people will collude with officials and say, hey, how do we get money from Nigerian government? For instance, if you're an attorney general's office or you're a government official, how do you how do you steal from Nigeria without being seen to steal? One of the cleanest way to do it and hide it is to work with a foreign company, and the foreign company will sue Nigeria, and then you refuse to defend the case. You create a smoke screen. For instance, you hire lawyers, but don't pay those lawyers, knowing fully well that if you don't pay the lawyers, they will not work. And then you lose the case. In another case we handled for Nigerian government, we were working with an American law firm. Nigerian government refused to pay anybody any fees until the American law firm left. They withdrew. So we stayed behind. My firm remained on that case. So we began to wonder what was going on. They create cottage industry. People in Nigeria will either be stealing money, using the lawsuit as an excuse for travel. When they do a lot of that and is not satisfactory, they work with the other side. I have gotten a case, settled a case involving Nigerian government. We settled it for, I think, $600,000. Nigerian government was to pay them. Do you know that Nigerian government paid them more than that? The justification was, their colleagues. One of the Nigerian government officials told me that I shouldn't win a case in a way that leaves the opponent empty-handed. That I should know that the opponents are our colleagues. So I shouldn't win a case where they will lose completely. I should manage it in such a way that they get something. So when I look at whether it is the case of Process and Industrial Development Limited, the P&ID case, where they got 9 billion judgment against Nigeria, if you look at it, Nigerian officials, including the lawyers, participated. If you recall in that case, the lawyer that supposedly represented Nigerian government in that 9 billion thing was eventually prosecuted by the EFCC and they dismissed the case. Why? Because apparently there was a belief that he went behind and did a deal with them. So I am not surprised. All I can say is that what we are reading about the seizure of 3 airplanes of Nigerian government over an arbitration award is absolutely meaningless. It's not possible procedurally. First and foremost, how did they get 150? Original award was 55 million. How did they get 55 million? There is what we call quantum of damages. Even if you suffer the damages, even if the other side breached the contract, that does not entitle you to whatever you claim. You still have to measure, evaluate, and convince the arbitration or the umpire as to how much you lost, the exact damage in court. So what led to 55 million? Because one of the things Nigerian government is saying now is that, oh, they didn't lose up to 55 million. They didn't invest too much. It was a little thing they did. But these arguments should not come now. They should come in your defense, in your response to the claim. When you receive their statement of claim, you're supposed to respond to it. You're supposed to marshal up evidence to debunk their allegations. You're supposed to demand for the Chinese company to show you exactly how they lost that amount of money. How did they calculate or compute their damages up to $55 million in Nigeria? All these things supposed to fully demonstrated at the stage of trial. But now Nigerian government is saying, oh, the Chinese company misled the French arbitration. They lied. How can you say that at this point? Why didn't you defend the case? Why didn't you say this in your statement of defense or your counter affidavit? Why didn't you say that? Why are you saying it now? So my conclusion, and Nigerians should be aware of that, because this is not the only case. As I speak to you today, people in the office of the Attorney General, people representing Nigerian government are making deals with foreigners to win judgments against Nigeria so they can share the money they collect against Nigeria. So it is the latest form of corruption within the Nigerian political system. That is easiest way. They appoint you as a Nigerian lawyer representing Nigerian government. You meet the other side and say, hey, okay, I will help you win the case. I will help you win the case. This is my court. And how do you help them win? You don't defend the case. You don't marshal evidence. You counter your own government. You undermine your own government. And when a judgment comes, it could be a new government dealing with mess, because this particular problem of a seizure of airplane did not involve the government of Tinubu. Tinubu was not in government when this started. It started long ago. It built up. It was actually in 2016 that Ogun State abruptly, can you imagine, abruptly canceled the contract. No due process, no legal process at all. Canceled the contract. Did everything to harass and drive the Chinese away. Come on. It's not the fault of Tinubu, but Tinubu now bears it. His government is dealing with it. If I were advising Nigerian government now, because all these things, the judgment is set on stone. There's nothing they can do about it at this moment. The only thing, the only way out is if they can establish corruption, either on the part of those, the Chinese company colluding with Nigerians, yes, or expose the Nigerians involved in the corruption. That is the only basis to reverse this. That was the basis upon which they were able to reverse what happened in P and ID. Yeah. That was how it happened. And that is their best option. Let them go check those lawyers out, investigate them, find out what they did, put them through a process. Let a body of lawyers investigate whether they did everything right, whether they defended the case the way they ought to defend it in accordance with the standards of professional ethics in law. Did they do what they needed to do? Did they respond in time? Did they utilize the evidence available to them? Or did they compromise the case? If they did, that could be a basis for corruption. And if you raise that to a satisfactory end, it could lead to a reversal of the judgment. All you need to do is to show that the Chinese company or their official is involved in collusion or corruption with the Nigerian government official. If you can't do that, Nigerian government should go and cough out $100 million and give them. Because I don't see anyhow else. It's too late now to challenge their word. When I saw this, I shook my head, I laughed, because I knew how these things work.
Okay. That was an earful. You have talking about Mr. Emeka.
Excuse me, I can't hear you, please.
I said that was an earful we got from people. Can you hear me?
Faintly.
I said that you have just given us an earful, and that Nigeria's Tinubu's government seems to be caught up in a mess generated by another set of, do I say criminals? Sorry if I use that word, but that is what you are trying, the picture you are trying to paint here.
Yes. That is correct, Tim. That's correct because I lived it, I saw it. They undermine them. Everybody, almost everybody in Nigerian government today is trading against the country. If you see anybody who is not stealing from the government, it is because he hasn't seen how to do it without being detected. Once they find the cover, they will steal from Nigerian government. So, and the newest cover, one of the smartest cover to cheat Nigeria is for people to work with foreigners, encourage foreigners to sue Nigeria, and then compromise Nigerian ability to defend, resulting in a judgment against Nigeria. And hopefully, when that judgment amount is paid out, the Nigerians will go and get their share of it. So it is Nigerians. Find out the Nigerians working with the Chinese company. Find out the Nigerian government officials who compromised the case. Get them up, arrest them, investigate them, especially the lawyers. One of them will tell you the truth. And once you have that evidence of corruption, that is a basis to reverse the award at any stage. At any stage. Once you can show corruption in the process involving the officials or the claimants, you will win. And that is it. Look for the lawyers who defended Nigerian government. What did they file? When did they get the notices? What did they file? Look at the procedure, look at the record of the court. You will see all the gaps, all the shoddy things Nigerian government did. Their failure to submit evidence, their failure to argue the point, their failure to, all these things were calculated on purpose to get Nigeria to lose the case, to an award to be entered against Nigeria, up to the point of even telling them what assets to seize and what assets not to seize. I can tell you that. I can tell you that Nigerian officials were the ones telling the Chinese what to do and how to do it. And when the award is given and the share, you will never know that they were corrupt. So if I were the government, pick up all of those lawyers immediately. Try them.
Okay. May I call your attention to the fact that the administration of former Ogun State Governor Daniel seems to be washing his hands of this matter. Well, in a statement that was issued earlier this week, the administration of Daniel is saying that they are not involved in this mess, so to say. In this, let me give you a quote on the statement and let's have your 2 pence on that. The statement reads, "We need to establish clearly that Otumba Daniel or his administration is not in discussion on the matter before the courts and administration, neither were the terms of propriety or the agreement for the establishment of the FTZ. Rather, it is the termination of a management contract. The judgments in all the courts are very clear on this. It is also important to note that this is a very sensitive matter involving our collective national assets and commonwealth, which every patriotic Nigerian should feel concerned about. They are kind of saying we are not culpable in this matter. So if the administration of Daniel is not culpable, or is high culpability, and the judgment is against Ogun State, which by extension involve the Nigerian government, how can it be saying we are not culpable?
Well, I heard that Wenga denied liability or involvement, and I didn't get the details of his denial. But let me say something very clear. This contract was entered in 2001. It was breached in 2016.
Yes.
Gbenga Daniel was not the governor in 2016. He was the governor in 2001 up to from 1999 to 2003 to 2007. So Gbenga Daniel, his government, he wasn't in office when this contract was breached. He was in the office when the discussion started because according to the timeline, China and Nigeria signed a bilateral investment treaty encouraging investment in 2001. However, it was in 2010, after Gbenga had left office, that this company had a contract with Ogun State government. So by this timeline, it is clear that Gbenga Daniel was not in government when this happened. Whoever was the governor from 2010 to 2016 is the government that was involved. So, but in any event, let us say that all the governors of Ogun State, in the history of Ogun State, come out and deny involvement. Then the question is, and this is what I hope Nigerians can ask, all these defenses coming now are coming too late. Why didn't they advance these defenses when the proceeding was ongoing? If somebody files a claim against you, every system in this world will give you time to respond to that claim. After you respond to that claim, every system will give you an opportunity to develop your argument and marshal out evidence. That is the best time to say these things they're saying. If this contract was bogus, was never entered by any government, why are you just saying it now? Are you suggesting that French arbitration awarded made an award against a party that was never involved in the process? It's not possible. That's why I said that what they're telling us is procedurally impossible. Watch my word, procedurally impossible. There is a procedure to follow when you make a claim in any arbitration, in any tribunal in this world. What they're saying is not possible. So somebody, Ogun State and Nigerian government must have received notices that this company has made a claim against them. They must have sent a representative, because if you don't send representative and an award is made, there will still be on the record an indication that you were undefended, that you did not come at all. But apparently somebody, some spirit lawyers defended Nigeria at the arbitration. Some ghosts we don't know. So those lawyers made some argument. What did they say? It's supposed to be in writing. There's supposed to be a record. How come they didn't remember then that there was no contract, or that it was bogus, or no government was involved? How come they did not remember that the Chinese company was lying then? Why did they wait until after this judgment? They began to say things they ought to have said on day one. The only reason, if you ask me, is because those representing Nigeria either didn't go there to represent Nigeria, or they turned against Nigeria, or they failed to present evidence. They failed to say then what they're saying now. That's why, looking at all these things, I believe that the people representing Nigeria, there are two types of people that represent Nigeria. There are the government officials who appoint the lawyers. The lawyers go to represent Nigeria and they report back to the government officials. It is the government officials that constitute the clients, who inform them, give them state of facts, and bring out evidence, document things they need. These are the government officials. Then the lawyers will take whatever is given to them and go to the arbitration and make fine arguments. So between those lawyers and the officials representing Nigerian government, They compromise this case. What they're saying is not possible. I don't see it can't happen to any other government. Because now, whatever Benga says, okay, let us say Benga had said, yes, we messed up. We did all these things. You ask me, when did the debts of Ogun State become the debts of Nigerian government? Because when it becomes the debt of Nigerian government, then all Nigerians, including Borno State, will share in the debt. So how can one state, Ogun State, bind the entire country? It's not possible. So there are many, many questions you ask. This is Ogun State debt. Let us assume that everything these people say were right. Their contract was breached. The Ogun State acted stupidly, breached contract. Let us assume those things. But you still cannot answer the question, how did it become the debt of Nigerian government? Wow. So Nigerians should look where the problem is. And I hope President Tinubu will look where the problem is. Go get those lawyers, find the officials who appointed them, find out communication between them, find out, go get the record of the arbitration, not just the award, because they're reading the judgment and people are saying the judgment. Look for the record of proceedings, all that transpired from day one to the end of it. If you look through it, it will take you hard time to discover where the compromise occurred, where the errors occurred. Until Nigerians begin to hold those who represent them responsible for outcome of those representations, they will continue to compromise Nigeria. If I were the president now, I'll call back all those officials, commence investigation, get all of them, get all the lawyers, arrest them, detain them. Now the truth will come out. Okay? That is, I'm saying that, I'm sure those lawyers are going to be mad at me that I'm saying this, but I knew this. I lived it. For 10 years, Nigerian government officials will hire me in America to defend Nigeria, then turn around and do everything to cause me to lose the case. So in the end, you don't know who is your friend, who you are defending, and who is the opponent. Okay? So that is what is happening. So we just finished with this last one, the P and ID, the controversy of 9 billion against Nigeria. You people know it will never have happened. It will never have happened if you have even a half-baked lawyer genuinely and honestly defending Nigeria. It was pure corruption. It was Nigerians that got the judgment against their own country. So we finished with the P and ID, and now we're having this French company. I can tell you that many more are lined up. And this thing is even noticed because it was dramatic. The seizure of the president's jet was dramatic. Assuming they had done something more covert, nobody would have known. Indeed, if they did not seize the plane, if they had done something else, then you see the height of corruption. Because even these people will come and say, all right, we're going to give you the 100 million. How much is it for us? And they say, okay, take 10 million. For 10 million, Nigerian officials will sell Nigeria. We've seen it again and again and again. But one thing I can say to Nigerians is do not believe these things. You need to understand what is happening. Law is not that stupid. The legal process is not that miraculous. You can't end up with a judgment of 100 million overnight. It took years to come. Every lawyer will see it coming. If you're involved in a case, $100 million, and your client is about to lose $100 million, you will see it 1 mile away. You will see it years before you got there. You will call your client and say, we're doing very badly in this case. We are very likely to lose. And if that is the case, can we not make a deal and offer these Chinese people 30 million? If we give them 25 million, they will probably accept it and go. Then you make a deal. Reach a settlement, offer the Chinese 25 million, they go. As you save yourself the 100 million, Nigerians will never do that. They have interest in this whole thing. The Chinese company may get 50 million out of the 100, and Nigerian officials will share the other. The Nigerian officials are using the Chinese company to steal from Nigeria through a bogus legal process. And now that legal process is set in concrete. There's a judgment of 1 million, and Nigeria is running around playing this silly game. You know, why are you filing an appeal after time? What's wrong with you? Did you not know the deadline for appeal? You are representing a whole country. So you have no excuse not to put on the best legal representation known to mankind. Why? So if they want to know the truth, they should focus on those who sold Nigeria. They're not alone. Everybody is selling Nigeria. Everybody. Even Nigerian ambassadors are selling Nigeria. That is why I say poor Nigeria. Nigeria suffers all manner of abuse, because the Nigerian officials are trading against their country. Okay? That is a fact. That is a fact.
All right. It's been a wonderful evening with you, Mr. Emeka. We thank you very much for your inputs. And I wish Nigerian government will reach out to you for consultation on this matter to lay the whole thing bare, because I mean, $74.5 million judgment is not what one will swallow with a pinch of salt. So I appreciate your input once again. We thank you, and we hope when next we call you up on this matter, we hope you'll be here once again to help us start out matters of this kind and similar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, then. Thank you.
This has been a wonderful evening with the Diaspora Digital Media. We have been speaking once again with Barrister Ugwuonye, who has been a lawyer of the Nigerian government in the United States, and we have already told how Nigerians are selling Nigeria to non-Nigerians for material portion. Until we find our way again, this is the team Eloba, and we have the crew at the background who has made this evening possible. So thank you all, and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.